May 19, 1944, 15,000 feet above the English Channel near Dover. The cockpit of the Junkers Ju-188 shudders violently. Oberleutnant Hans Keller grips the flight stick, his eyes narrowed against the glare. He is deep in hostile airspace on a high-speed reconnaissance run. The Garden of Kent is supposed to be the most heavily defended airspace in the world. Flak bursts dot the sky below, black puffs of smoke. He is here for one reason: pictures for the FU Her. He banks hard. The Kent coastline slides into view through a break in the clouds. His stomach tightens, not from the G-forces, but from what he sees. It is impossible. The fields, the forests, the roads south of Dover, they are choked with machinery. Thousands of tanks, their long-barreled guns pointed south. Endless convoys of trucks. Airfields sprung up overnight, parked wing to wing with bombers and fighters. And in the harbors, a sea of ships. Hundreds of landing craft massing for a crossing. Keller hammers the camera button. Click. Where? Click. He must get this film back. He has seen the invasion army, and it is aimed directly at Pas-de-Calais. What Oberleutnant Keller cannot know, what his Zeiss lens cannot distinguish from 3 miles up, is the absurd truth. The Sherman tanks he just photographed are made of rubber, inflated by air compressors. Those P-51 Mustangs are wooden frames covered in canvas. Those landing craft, known as Big Bobs, are floating scaffolding designed to look impressive from afar. And this great invasion army, they are the first U.S. Army Group, or FUSAG, the most dangerous and powerful army in the world, and it does not exist. Welcome to Operation Fortitude. This is not a battle of bullets. It is a war of the mind, the greatest theatrical performance in military history, designed for a single purpose: to convince the German High Command and Adolf Hitler of one lie. The lie was simple: the coming Allied invasion of Europe. Operation Overlord would strike at Pas-de-Calais, the narrowest point of the Channel. It was a logical lie. Calais was closer. It had the best deep water ports. It was the most direct route to Germany's industrial heartland. Any sensible strategist would attack there. And the Germans, particularly Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt, Commander-in-Chief West, and Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, commander of Army Group B, were counting on it. To make that lie take root, the Allies needed more than just stage props. They needed an entire ecosystem of deception. Enter MI5's double, cross-system, or the XX Committee. For years, British intelligence had successfully captured or turned nearly every German agent sent to Britain. Instead of executing them, MI5 ran them, using them to feed carefully crafted misinformation back to their handlers in Berlin. And the star of this show was a man named Joan Pujol Garcia, an eccentric Spaniard who so despised the Nazis that he offered himself to the British as a spy. Initially rejected, he went to Lisbon, convinced the Germans he was a loyal fascist operative, and proceeded to invent such convincing intelligence reports that he was put on the Abwehr, a military intelligence payroll. The Germans' code named him Alaric. The British, finally realizing his value, brought him to London and code named him Garbo. From a safe house in London, Garbo built a network of 27 entirely fictitious sub-agents. He created their profiles, their personalities, even their personal problems. He reported to Berlin on Allied unit movements. The catch: these units were also fictitious. Garbo was the human voice of FUSAG. While artists at Shepperton Studios were building canvas tanks, another group, the Radio Wizards of Operation Quicksilver, was creating the Army's soul. The Germans, especially Colonel Hans, Joachim von Rorschach's Funkabteilung, Radio Monitoring Corps, were masters of traffic analysis. They didn't just listen to what was said. They analyzed the fist, each operator's unique Morse code rhythm, the volume of chatter, the patterns of silence. You could tell a unit was preparing for an attack, not by what it said, but by its sudden silence before the storm. So Quicksilver's operators created a radio symphony. They simulated the networks of dozens of non-existent divisions. They practiced the fists of fictitious operators. They sent out fake complaints about food, fake requisitions for fuel, and fake training reports. This radio traffic swelled and subsided in a carefully orchestrated rhythm, all designed to show a 500,000-man army gathering in southeast England. And to make it all credible, they needed a commander. They needed someone the Germans both respected and feared. Someone aggressive enough, daring enough, crazy enough to lead the main assault. They chose General George S. Patton. After the infamous slapping incident in Sicily, Patton was on the bench. He had no army. But the Germans didn't know that. They considered him the Allies' best warrior. So in January 1944, the Allies began leaking news. Where was Patton? Why was he quiet? Then in April, the rumors started to be confirmed by Abwehr agents, namely Garbo. Patton had been given command of the 1st U.S. Army Group, FES AG. He was seen inspecting troops in Kent. He was preparing for the assault. Oberleutnant Keller's photos from the Ju 188 were not just pictures. They were the final physical proof of an impossibly complex, multi-layered hoax. In Berlin and at Rommel's headquarters at La Roche, Guyon, Keller's photos were laid on the table. They sat next to reports from Garbo. They sat next to radio analysis maps from von Rorschach's team. Every source confirmed the same thing. The tanks were seen from the air. The units were identified by agents on the ground. The plans were heard on the airwaves. The commander was Patton. The target was Calais. The Germans had swallowed the bait. They now centered their most powerful force, the 15th Army, at Pas-de-Calais. They reinforced the bunkers. They laid the mines. They put their best panzer divisions on standby 100 miles from the bloody beaches of Normandy. The actors were in place. The stage was set. The veil of deception was complete. Now all that was left was to wait for the real attack. The one the Allies had built while elsewhere, on a quiet stretch of coast in Normandy. The true fate of Europe was silently preparing to land. June 6, 1944, 1:11 a.m. La Roche, Guyon, France. The teleprinter in the subterranean command center of Army Group B begins to clatter. It is a noise that will not stop for the next 24 hours. A duty officer rips the first message from the machine. He blinks, reading it twice before his blood runs cold. He scrambles down the corridor to the office of General Hans Speidel, Field Marshal Rommel's meticulous chief of staff. The message is frantic. It's from the 716th Infantry Division. Reports of numerous parachute landings east of the Orne River. Speidel is roused from his cot. He is a calm, intellectual man, but this report troubles him. More reports flood in. Paratroopers at Saint-Aimé, Ré-Gleiss. Gliders landing near Pegasus Bridge. At 2:15 a.m., another message arrives. This one from the Coastal Naval Command. Multiple radar contacts. A fleet of unidentified vessels. 100, no, thousands. Heading for the Normandy coast. Sector Bayeux. Speidel gets on the phone to Field Marshal von Rundstedt's headquarters. The initial assessment is clear. This is K-Tag. Diversion day, It's a large-scale feint, a noisy, bloody attempt to draw their forces away from the real target. After all, where was Patton? Where was Fuse AG? The radio traffic from Kent was still busy. Garbo was still reporting that the Calais group was on high alert. This Normandy landing. It was a sideshow. At Burghof, in the Bavarian Alps, Adolf Hitler is asleep, protected by a strict order not to be disturbed. When his adjutants finally dare to wake him hours later, he will dismiss the news with contempt. A feint, he scoffs. Let them come. It's exactly what we wanted. But on the coast, the feint is unfolding with terrifying violence. 6:30 a.m. Sector Omaha. The Higgins boat slams into a sandbar. The ramp drops. Go! 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 Before the men of the 1st Infantry Division can even clear the ramp, German MG-42 machine guns, sighted perfectly in bunkers overhead by the 352nd Infantry Division, open up. The sound is not a rat, tat-tat, but a terrifying singular rip, like canvas tearing, firing 200 rounds per minute. The first wave of men doesn't just die. They are vaporized. The water turns red. This is not a diversion. This is hell. Back at La Roche, Guyane, the phones are screaming. The 76th Division is being overrun. The 91st is cut off. The reports are no longer of paratroopers, but of organized divisions, of tanks landing on the beaches, of warships shelling the coast with impunity. A desperate request is made. The 21st Panzer Division, stationed near Caen, is the only immediate armored counterattack force. But it cannot move without authorization. More urgently, the Strategic Reserve. The 1st SS Panzer Corps, Leibstandarte, and the 12th SS Panzer Division Hitler-Jugend are held back, waiting for Hitler's personal release. They are poised, their engines cold, waiting for the attack at Calais. This is the moment, the hinge of the entire operation. General Spadel and Field Marshal von Rundstedt both believe this is a diversion, but the scale of it is now terrifying. They must counterattack, or the beachhead will hold. Von Rundstedt, the elderly, aristocratic commander, in Chief West, picks up the phone to Hitler's headquarters at the Wolfschanz, Wolf's Lair. He speaks to General Alfred Jodl, Chief of Operations. Rundstedt is blunt. The landings are widespread. We must release the Panzer reserves and throw them back into the sea before they establish themselves. Jodl's reply is laced with the smug certainty of Fortitude's success. The Führer is convinced this is not the main invasion. The main attack will come at Pas-de-Calais. We cannot commit our primary armored reserve to a feint. The request is denied. Denied. It is a word that seals the fate of the men on the beaches. The 21st Panzer Division is finally, agonizingly, released for a limited counterattack late in the afternoon. It's too little, too late. It runs straight into a wall of Allied air power and naval gunfire. Meanwhile, 150 miles to the northeast, the mighty German 15th Army sits. Its panzer divisions are fully fueled. Its infantry is on high alert. They are staring out at the sea, waiting for General Patton's ghost army. They are protecting Pas-de-Calais from an army of rubber tanks, dummy aircraft, and fictitious radio signals, all while the real invasion, the largest amphibious assault in human history, is tearing a hole in their flank. The deception is no longer just a plan. It is a weapon. And on June 6, 1944, it is working more perfectly than its creators could have ever dreamed. The German High Command is paralyzed, their eyes fixed firmly on the phantoms in Kent, unable to see the reality of the firestorm in Normandy. June 7, 1944, 900 a.m., Pas-de-Calais. General Hans von Salmuth, commander of the German 15th Army, stands in his command bunker overlooking the channel. He is a man coiled like a spring. For 48 hours his men, the largest, best-equipped army in France, have been on 100% alert. His artillery is pre-sighted. His panzer divisions are hidden in forests, engines warmed, crews sleeping by their machines. He scans the gray water. Nothing. The sky is empty, save for his own Luftwaffe patrols. The reports from Normandy are a torrent of chaos. The beachhead is holding. The Americans are pushing inland at Utah and Omaha. The British are locked in a death struggle for the city of Cannes, and yet every piece of intelligence on his desk says otherwise. The previous night, an urgent message arrived from Alaric, Sir Garbo, their most trusted agent in England. The message was explicit. The Normandy landings were a diversionary maneuver. The main assault, Alaric reported, was being prepared by Fortitude under Patton to be launched in the coming days or weeks against Calais. To von Salmuth, it makes perfect sense. This Normandy business is bloody, yes, but it's a trap. It's designed to do exactly what the generals in Normandy are now screaming for: pull the 15th Army south. The moment he moves his panzers, Patton will strike his undefended coastline, and the war will be lost. So he waits. His army of over 200,000 men waits. In London, at the headquarters of the London Controlling Section, the architects of Fortitude are holding their breath. The lie has survived D-Day. Now Phase 2 begins maintaining the lie. The Normandy beachhead is fragile. If the panzers at Calais move south now, they could drive the Allies back into the sea. The deception is no longer about achieving surprise. It's about buying time. The order goes out: FUSAG must appear more threatening than ever. The radio operators of Operation Quicksilver redouble their efforts. The airwaves over Kent crackle with a new urgency. Patton's army is furious that the Normandy diversion is bogging down. Messages fly, simulating the final preparations for an assault. Request fuel quotas for 3rd Armored. Weather forecast for Sector Pass, D, Calais. Landing craft embarkation drills scheduled. The deception becomes brazen. Allied bombers, fresh from pounding Normandy, are retasked. They fly massive, high-profile raids against Pass D Calais. They bomb bridges, rail lines, and coastal batteries that have nothing to do with the Normandy battle. To the Germans, this is the final proof. It is the softening up before the Hauptangriff, the main attack. Meanwhile, at Hitler's headquarters, a furious argument is underway. Field Marshal Rommel, having rushed back to France from his wife's birthday in Germany, is on the phone. His voice is raw with panic and rage. My divisions in Normandy are being bled white. The enemy air power is crushing us. I need the panzer reserves. I need everything you have. Release the 15th Army. He is met with cold, infuriating logic from General Jodl and Hitler himself. Field Marshal. Jodl's voice crackles over the line. The FU-Hers assessment is unchanged. All intelligence confirms the main enemy group, FUSAG, has not yet been committed. They are still in Kent. You are facing the diversion. You must hold with what you have. Rommel cannot believe what he is hearing. He is on the ground. He can see the endless armada, the thousands of men, the tanks rolling off the LSTs. How can this be a diversion? But he is arguing against a phantom. He is arguing against Garbo, against rubber tanks, and against the towering reputation of George S. Patton. On June 9th, 3 full days after the invasion, the lie reaches its zenith. Agent Garbo sends his masterpiece. He reports to his German handlers that he has just attended a high-level meeting with FUSAG commanders. He confirms that the Normandy operation is a trap. He gives them a new, terrifying timeline. Patton's invasion of Calais is imminent, scheduled for around June 10th, and will be twice the size of the Normandy landings. This report lands on Hitler's desk like a stone tablet. It is the decisive blow. Hitler issues a direct, unassailable order. FU Her Directive 51 stands. The 15th Army is forbidden to move. Not one division, not one tank. They will hold Pas-de-Calais at all costs. The deception has worked too well. The Germans are now more convinced than ever that the real invasion is yet to come. In Normandy, the Allies, bleeding for every inch of ground, have just been given the greatest gift of the campaign time. The armored fist that could have annihilated them remains frozen in place 150 miles away, waiting for a ghost. June 22, 1944. 15th Army Headquarters, Pas-de-Calais. General Hans von Salmuth stares at the map. The date June 10th has come and gone. Then June 15th. Now more than 2 weeks have passed since Garbeau's imminent invasion. Warning. His army, the most powerful in France, has done nothing but sit, listen, and wait. The radio chatter from FUSAG in Kent continues, but it's repetitive. It's following a pattern. It's too clean. Meanwhile, the reports from Normandy are no longer just desperate. They are apocalyptic. The Americans have taken Cherbourg. The British and Canadians are grinding down the SS Panzer divisions around Caen in a brutal battle of attrition. The diversion has now landed over 1 million men and hundreds of thousands of tons of supplies. Doubt, a sensation von Salmuth has suppressed for weeks, begins to creep in. Where is Patton? He mutters to his chief of staff. He is the most impatient man in the world. Why does he wait? The weather is clear. The chief of staff has no answer. But another man does. In a listening post near Calais, Oberst Colonel Hans Joachim von Rorschach of the Funkabteilung is reviewing the radio intercepts. His analysts, the best in the Wehrmacht, have noticed something deeply disturbing. Oberst, a young analyst says, his voice hesitant. Look at this. The fist of the operator for the 5th Armored Division signals unit. It is identical to the fist of the 3rd Infantry signals. The same man, just slower. Von Rorschach feels a prickle of ice on his neck. He pulls the files. He finds another. A signals unit from Patton's headquarters shares the exact unique Morse code rhythm as a signals unit in a reserve corps. One operator pretending to be two. It is Tizi Ashung, the analyst whispers. It is deception. They cross-reference with the Luftwaffe's reconnaissance. The last high-altitude flight, a desperate, suicidal run by a Ju-128, had returned photos. But when analyzed closely, the convoys in the fields hadn't moved. Not an inch. The tanks were in the same positions as the photos from May. Men don't do that. Armies don't do that. Von Rorschach makes a sickening calculation. The entire radio signature of the 1st U.S. Army Group. It's a forgery. At the same time, in Berlin, the Abwehr is celebrating. Their top agent, Alaric, is so successful that the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, OKW, has just awarded him the Iron Cross, 2nd class, for his extraordinary intelligence. The award is transmitted to him via MI5, who receive the news with stunned amusement. This is the peak of absurdity. The Germans are decorating the very man who is ensuring their destruction. July 25, 1944. Near Saint-El, Normandy. The ground begins to shake. It is not a tremor. It is 500B, 17 and B-24 heavy bombers blotting out the sun. They have come to drop a carpet of high explosives on the German panzer divisions. This is the start of Operation Cobra. The real breakout. General Omar Bradley unleashes his actual first U.S. Army. And at its head, the man the Germans have been waiting for in Calais, General George S. Patton. Patton's Third Army, which had been secretly landed and assembled in the Normandy rear, hits the gap created by the bombers like a thunderbolt. He is not in Kent. He is in Normandy, and he is unleashed. The news hits Hitler's headquarters like a physical blow. The realization is no longer a creeping doubt. It is a cold, humiliating, catastrophic fact. There is no FUSAG. There is no invasion at Calais. There is no diversion. It was all a lie. The fury in the Wolfchans is tectonic. The teleprinters at the 15th Army headquarters begin to chatter with a new, frantic order. Release all armored units. Move south. Move south now. General von Salmuth finally gives the order his men have been waiting for. The panzers roar to life. The divisions begin to move. But it is July, not June. They are not moving as a cohesive armored fist. They are moving as individual divisions, thrown piecemeal into a battle that is already lost. They are not moving over secure roads. They are moving under a sky owned by Allied P-47 Thunderbolts and Hawker Typhoons, whose pilots refer to the desperate German retreat as a turkey shoot. They are not plugging a gap. They are being fed into a meat grinder. The Ghost Army at Calais, the collection of rubber, wood, and radio waves, had done its job. It had held 19 German divisions, battle-hardened. Elite divisions, in place for 7 crucial weeks. It had bought the time to land 2 million men. It had guaranteed the Normandy beachhead. For General Hans von Salmuth, it is the end. He looks at the map, at the red arrows of Patton's real army slicing through his flank, and he understands. He hasn't been outfought. He hasn't been outmaneuvered. He has been duped.